Okay, friends, neighbors, I'm excited to be back on the road again. Just battled off COVID, believe it or not. I was positive for a couple of weeks, and I'm back. My voice is not back quite yet, as you can probably tell, but that's par for the course with me, so hang in there. You're going to like this video today because it's coming from the deep, dark hills of eastern Kentucky, so hopefully that'll be a little bit of a tip-off for you, and you'll see in just one split second here. As promised, we're rolling in from Lee County, Virginia into Harlan County, Kentucky. Yes, the Harlan County. Alrighty, I'm inching into the city of Harlan, Kentucky, which is, of course, the capital of Harlan County. Not the capital, but the county seat. Harlan, I was surprised because if you look around, it seems like a bigger town, or well, bigger city. Population, the last census was about a little over 1,700, and then a guesstimate recently has it around 1,500 nowadays, which is kind of surprising because you'll see it's kind of a spread out, got a few things going on. A lot of that has to with the fact that it's kind of a captive audience here in Harlan County. It's kind of isolated, so all the surrounding towns and communities feed into this, and I think Harlan County itself has about in the ballpark of 25,000 people, so most of them would come down here to shop or do business and that type of thing. So you still got Lynch, Cumberland, Everett, and all these smaller towns and communities to feed into this area. But Harlan County at one time in 1940 it peaked at about 5,100 population. So just like a lot of these coal cities and towns, it's took a huge hit in population and looks to continue to maybe do so. I'm just stunned though. I've been here for a few minutes and I have yet to see the first reference to coal whatsoever. That would be unthinkable 20 years, well heck 10 years ago, that would have been unthinkable that you would not see. I haven't seen a Friends of Coal sticker. I've not seen any kind of reference to coal keeps the lights on, nothing. Not one thing, which is very odd, to say the least, as this city was built on coal. Literally. So we'll get down to the downtown business area. I highly recommend, if you want to know anything about the coal mining industry, and especially labor disputes, you want to check out Harlan County, USA, the documentary. Man, it was amazing. Captured the labor dispute between the United Mine Workers and the coal operation. Duke Power was involved with that, and it was just, man, it's tense. It's almost hard to watch, but it's amazingly captures that whole era very well. I happened to be in the middle of a strike myself when I first went into mining. Right out of high school, I got a job, and it was the last major strike, the Pittston strike, and I remember the tension, and man, it was just and that Harlan County, USA captures every bit of that, because it was vicious. Also, you quite often hear the term Bloody Harlan. There was a Harlan County Wars. There was also a mine dispute back in I want to say the 1930s, and it was just another ugly episode between the coal companies and labor. Really brought about labor unions' rise in this area, especially. And that's astounding too, is that, to the best of my knowledge, there's no remaining members of the United Mine Workers around, not actively working in the mines. Unless that's changed recently. That was true as of a year or 2 or 3 years ago. And which is another thing that just, knowing that this county and town was built on coal and union, kind of hard to imagine. It appears they've installed a flood wall of some sorts. I've get to the downtown area and cut back in on you. Okay, turning into the business district here and take a look around. And this goes back to the glory days of Harlan. You'll see a lot of these buildings are now unfortunately empty and in need of repair. And there's a particular segment in that Harlan County, USA documentary that sticks in my mind where the Union had a march downtown area and it went down through this part of it, so that really sticks with me. As you can see, back then, you know, all these businesses were full and it was a prosperous area. But man, you could just, there's a lot of cars today. It's a Sunday, so a bit of a church crowd out. There's a really good restaurant down here called The Portal, which I normally stop at. I won't be today because got a little COVID hangover, but as you can see, a lot of these buildings are getting in pretty sad shape. Looks like church letting out, so cut off here real quick. Right, I'm back at the end of the street that we were just going down. Don't like to film people without permission, so if I can avoid it. That's why a lot of people ask me about why there's no people in a lot of my videos. Well, I try to keep them out as much as possible, just for the fact that I don't necessarily want anyone filming me without my permission. Anyway, down here toward the high school and the elementary school. Several notable people from Harlan, the Harlan County at least anyway. They one most recently made note was Jordan Smith won The Voice a few years back. That was a huge deal. Great singer, so it was well deserved. And believe it or not, Nick Lachey, who was one time married to, where's the elementary school, one time married to Jessica Simpson, who was born in Harlan County, believe it or not. Well, fact I did not know, and frankly doesn't seem believable, but it is. And here's the high school. Hopefully you can see that. It's a little darkish. Home of the Green Dragons. Public Library to the right there. A lot of one-way streets and so forth down here. It's a little bit tricky, but keep pressing on. So hopefully they'll have a downtown revitalization program at some point that will get some of this back up, because you can tell they were nice buildings. They were meant to last when they were built. And I'll stop down here and get out of the car, show you a little bit of the courthouse. Okay, I want to give you a little bit of a view of the street down here near the courthouse. Turn it around here, you can see the actual courthouse itself. Pretty nice little building still. Take a little look at the statue. This was for World War I, it appears. Back across the road, it looks like it says NBC Bank, but that was one time the Bank of Harlan. Was established in 1934, which would have been the absolute heyday of the boomtown experience. So give you a look at this thing down through here. Still a little bit of fall colors in there. Adds a little ambiance. And I'll be back here in a second when I see something else interesting. This marker tells a little bit about how the county was named. It was named, it says 1819, for Major Silas Harlan. He was born in Virginia in 1752, came to Kentucky in 1774, built Harlan's Station 7 miles south of Harrodsburg on Salt River, 1778. Commanded spies 1779 in Illinois campaign of General George R. Clark, who said, "He was one of the bravest soldiers that ever fought by my side." He was killed in 1782 at the Battle of Blue Licks while commanding his detachment. He's buried at Blue Licks. Also, an interesting footnote is that Silas Harlan's grandson went on to serve as a Supreme Court justice. I'll throw that in there while I'm at it. This talks a little bit about 22 courthouses were burned in Kentucky during the Civil War, and one of them was in Harlan County. It was retribution. Harlan in particular for the burning of the Lee County Courthouse in Virginia. The Confederates burned this. And it says that of those 22, 12 of those were burned by Confederates, 8 by guerrillas, 2 by Union accident. The courthouse at Harlan was burned in reprisal for burning of Lee County, Virginia Courthouse, October 1863. Here on the other side of the courthouse, you'll see in honor of the Harlan County coal miners who sacrificed their lives while supporting a family and a nation. Look at all those names. It's amazing. Hundreds of names. Back to that Harlan County, USA documentary. It was, you talk about some interesting characters. I can't recommend enough to watch that. I watch it about once every 5 years or so, and I watched it about a year ago. And I can't believe I lost some of those guys' names, especially the company man that had some battles with the union members. So all kinds of little interesting things down here. To clear something up before I get too far out in front of my skis here, as they say, one thing is Silas Harlan was not the grandfather of the Supreme Court Justice. Actually, his fiancée at the time he was killed ended up marrying his brother, so his brother ended up being their father. So probably need to clear that up. Speaking of other famous people from Harlan, we had Kaywood Ledford, very well-known announcer for the University of Kentucky, basketball and football. There was Bernie Bickerstaff, who I remember coaching the Seattle Supersonics, but he was affiliated with the NBA for a long time. I'm pretty sure he coached Charlotte's basketball team. I can't remember if it was the Bobcats or Hornets at the time. And some other teams. He'd been around the NBA for a long, long time. And then there was probably the most accomplished athlete in the history of Kentucky, possibly. A man by the name of Wallace Wawa Jones. He was given the nickname Wawa, interestingly enough, by his sister, who couldn't pronounce his name and called him Wawa. So one of the better nicknames around to me, anyway. But anyway, he played basketball for Adolph Rupp, and played football for Bear Bryant. Imagine that. Nobody else can claim that, hardly. And we ended up winning an Olympic gold medal, a couple of national championships in basketball. So he was quite the accomplished athlete. Wawa Jones. He played in the NBA. ended up getting, I think it's definite, I can't remember if I just mentioned that, but he was drafted by the Chicago Bears. He didn't play football in the NFL, but he was that kind of athlete. He passed away about 5 or 6 years ago, I do believe. And there's a songwriter named Jerry Chestnut. He wrote the song Good Year for the Roses for Georgia Jones. That's what I remember singing. A lot of people sung that song, Alan Jackson. And he also sang Trouble. If you remember, Travis Tritt had a hit with that fairly, I wouldn't say recently, but more recently, and also Elvis Presley. So, I smell Trouble. Probably smelled a lot of trouble here in Harlan in his time. Truth be told. Go right through the middle of the downtown area. Harlan is just so well known. People know this place. It's kind of bizarre, really, considering how small it is. And there was the Justified. A lot of people remember that television series, which was great. I watched every episode of it. Just keeps getting referenced all the time. And even Channing Tatum came and did some outdoor activities, which is one thing that they really try to promote is such a gorgeous place. There's Kingdom Come Park down there, and it is amazing. And there's Black Mountain, which is also pretty phenomenal. And they draw a lot of people here for those, both of those. This building's pretty cool. It's called Kentucky Mine Supply Company now. It's a massive building. And then I'll pop back up with some more tales to tell. And here's a look at that downtown section I mentioned earlier, where in that Harlan County, USA documentary, you saw the UMWA miners march down the street in a peaceful protest. I guess was the fashionable words now they did these days. Interestingly, too, Florence Reese. Getting back to the music aspect of Harlan, Florence Reese wrote the song, Which Side Are You On? Actually, she originally supposedly wrote that when she was a 12-year-old girl about her dad being on strike, but she updated it in 1931, when she'd have been probably in early 30s, for her husband. Sam Reese helped organize some of the union operations during the the labor operations during what became known as the Harlan County Wars. And that's where that nickname Bloody Harlan came into it, because there's an untold number of deaths. You know, bombings, all kinds of things. It was the coal miners, union organizers versus law enforcement. In fact, they sent in the National Guard at one point to occupy the town, basically, restore some sort of order. Heard me allude to it at the very opening of this thing too. Is another song that comes to mind is the in the deep dark hills of eastern Kentucky. That's the place where I traced my bloodline. It was there, I read on a hillside gravestone, "You'll never leave Harlan alive." And I meant to sing that a cappella, but my voice is shot, unfortunately. Oh well, spare you that. But if you haven't heard that song, "You'll Never Leave Harlan Alive," if you haven't heard that song, stop this video right now and go check it out, because it is fantastic. It is one of the better songs written about one of these areas. You'll Never Leave Harlan Alive, and it's my particular version is favorite version is from Daryl Scott. Although Patty Loveless does a fantastic version as well, and even Brad Paisley does a pretty decent one. So here we are in Bloody Harlan. I hope I'm going to get me some bloody good eats here in a little bit, but I'm going to give you a look at that. A lot of people love seeing these older downtowns areas. Look at that fire escape. Imagine what this was like in its heyday. Anyway, I'll cut that out for now. I came on up the road a little bit to Brookside, and now I see that this mining operation is defunct. The last time I was here, it was actually in operation, believe it or not. Looks like it's been a while. Again, Brookside was name sounds familiar because that's part of that Harlan County, USA documentary that I won't shut up about, which I forgot to mention earlier that Florence Reese, singer of Which Side Are You On, was actually in that documentary singing that song, which was kind of a neat thing. She goes all the way back to the Harlan County War of 1930s, and she showed up in that video later in life. Well, like I said, you're getting this shot of just a defunct mine, which is not all that uncommon around here. Brookside's a little bit away from Harlan, the city, on the way to Everett's, and but I want to give you a little shot of that just because it's here, I guess. And on that note, we'll wrap this video up from Harlan, Kentucky. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Robert Mendenhall for a very generous donation that made this trip possible. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody for liking, subscribing, commenting, all the ways, donating, the ways you support us. Very much appreciated. I want to say too, to watch out for this COVID stuff. I'm telling you, it's no joke. I didn't have that many symptoms, but I did get a little bit of a cough one day until I whipped together some Appalachian COVID killer, which was a shot of moonshine, quite a bit of honey, and a little lemon juice. Knocked that cold for a loop. So Appalachia 1, COVID 0, I guess. But anyway, guys, take care of yourselves and each other, and God bless. See you down the road.